Quick background on me, because I like to talk about me. No, but how it's relevant is I basically have spent my entire life doing test automation, whether it's at Microsoft, Google, worked on IE4, Chrome, been through all that misery, and also like at Bing, I worked on machine learning. Like at the time, probably the largest neural network project on the planet was at Bing back in the day. I didn't know what I was getting into. We didn't even call it machine learning because we were embarrassed about it at the time. Because Google had all the smart engineers and 1,000 of them, and we had like 50. But anyway, so I've been playing with machine learning and AI kind of off and on for a long time. So it's not totally, I'll use good language. It's not totally, yeah. So two other things I've done. This is what, the only thing I've actually done in life that apparently matters to anybody was I wrote a couple paragraphs in this Google book. And then, but I will tell you, this other book I wrote, who works on mobile in here? Mobile apps. Okay, good. I was a little worried, like Selenium, you don't know. I poured my heart onto this. Every tip and trick I've ever learned to make your app like awesome is in this book, and it's free, and it's on LinkedIn or something somewhere, search for it as a PDF. But that's probably the most unused resource on the planet, in my opinion. And largest waste of lattes. So other quick context too, and I'll quit talking. I like to start stuff with actually code demos and stuff. But this is kind of somewhat significant too, in terms of like credibility, because I don't know you, you don't know me. But the Google AI team, actually literally the AI part of Google, invested in us a couple months ago, and gave us a bunch more cash so we can buy t-shirts for everybody. Because we don't actually hire anybody, we just spin up a bunch of damn machines, right? So they still haven't figured that out. They're like, where's all the people? And I'm like, we're winning. But that wasn't a good joke for here, was it? But anyway, we got money to play with. All right, so a question I've posed recently on LinkedIn as a teaser to this is, like, what if Appium had a brain, right? And today, Appium does have a brain. Can you guess what brain it is? It's yours, right? So we obviously need to replace this brain and upgrade, right? But the problem is that you have to do all the thinking, right? You have to go in and use, and God bless it, the IDE, the Explorer, and look for IDs and CSS selectors and all this stuff. What if Appium just did a little bit of the thinking for you, right? Like that would actually change, like lighten the life burden of all of us just a little bit. So what if Appium had a brain? So that was kind of the thought, and I got a little brave, and actually I was actually brave. I was shy about it. But so I thought we could actually team up with Appium and take some of our code and some of the R&D that we've been playing with the last couple of years and stuff it, a little piece of it into Appium so that everyone, I think, is this okay to say y'all out here? Yeah. All right. So y'all can actually use some AI in your testing. So anybody know this guy? This bearded woodsman that lives in Canada now? Is this guy familiar? Jonathan Lips? Yeah, he's like the Appium person, right? Like he's the godfather of Appium. So I actually just chatted with him over coffee, and I said, hey, what if we stick a brain into this thing? And he was like, that's cool, there's not a brain today. He's a pretty humble guy. So if you don't know about him, so he used to work at Sauce Labs, God bless Sauce Labs and all the marketing material. And for powering, what, 2 million tests a day? Like that's insane-o, right? And he's left there because he's a renegade up in Canada, and he founded his own consulting company, but he still actively works on Appium. And then one more quick promo. It's not for promo. It's actually just community work. If anybody's seen his Appium Pro mailing list? So if you haven't, sign up for it. Like every time he pushes that, I learn some crap that I never knew possible. And you'll find out you can do things you never thought possible, right, with Appium. And a lot of it's applicable to Selenium, too. So I'd say sign up. And use the promo code ARBON239. Sorry. All right. Does this look familiar to anybody? Who gets happy seeing this? Right? Actually, to be clear, I was actually giving Simon a bunch of crap last night. I'm like, why did you do this to the planet? You think I could? All right, so let's get into a quick demo. Forget talking. All right, now, he starts talking right at time t equals 0 because he's a nerd. But this is Jonathan Lips, and he's going to do a quick demo of what we've been working on together. And I made him do a video, actually volunteered, because he knew no one would believe me.
Hello, Selenium Conf Chicago. This is Jonathan Lips. I work on Appium. and run an Appium consulting firm called Cloud Gray. For the last little while, I've been working with Jason on bringing Test AI's technology into Appium so that Appium users can benefit from their work for free. This video is a demonstration of what we've been able to do together, and what's cool is that everything I'm demonstrating is actually open source and already merged into Appium, so you can use it today with the latest Appium beta. A word of warning though, it's all very early and experimental, so it's likely you will run into issues, but it hopefully demonstrates that Jason's lofty vision of AI for testing can actually meet your reality, in this case with an Appium integration. What I'm showing you here is a new kind of plugin for Appium, an element finding plugin that's powered by Test AI's machine learning model. Jason will share this URL and you can check out all the setup instructions later. The basic idea is that using this plugin, you can find an icon element by its semantic label. For example, you could find a shopping cart icon using the label cart, or an arrow button using the label arrow. It's a pretty cool idea, so let's see how it works. Here I've got an Android emulator with a shopping app on it, in this case Walmart. Like any good shopping app, you'll see that this app has a little cart icon that we can use to go to our cart and see what we've decided we want to purchase. What we're going to do is use the new element finding plugin from Test AI to tap on this icon without needing to inspect our app hierarchy, define selectors, and without doing any kind of image processing ourselves. So the end result will look like tapping on the cart and seeing our estimated total here. Okay, so let's load up our test. So here's the test code that I'm going to run. It's written in JavaScript using Mocha as the test runner. It's all straightforward Appium stuff, capabilities, before and after, drivers, all that kind of stuff. Except there's two important new bits. The first is a capability, custom find modules. This is where we specify the plugin that I'm using called Test AI Classifier. And I've already installed that in the appropriate place. The second is a new find element command. Element by custom here in this library. This lets us find an element using the custom element finding plugin that we registered above, using the name that we registered it with, in this case AI. So this command says we're looking for any cart elements using the AI element finding plugin. Okay, so you can see here that we've got Appium running, so we are ready to try the test. So let's just run Mocha test Android. So that's running, and you can see Appium is off doing its thing. And now we should hopefully see the app load on the emulator. Okay, the app is loaded, and now we are using the element finding plugin to find the cart icon. And here we have definitely clicked on the cart icon because we got to the right place. So that's it. Let's double check, and of course our test passed. So that's great. We clicked on an element just by telling Appium what kind of thing it represented, in this case a cart icon. But this doesn't just work on Android, it works on iOS too. So here's an iOS simulator, and we'll open up the Photos app. You can see that this app has a little magnifying glass icon designed to open up the search bar, like so. So we can find and tap on this element without knowing anything about the shape of our app's structure. So let's take a look at the test. Here we are. It's all exactly the same as what you saw before, except adjusted for iOS capabilities. Here's our custom find modules capability, and here is our custom element finding command where we're looking for, in this case, the search element, which it will find via the magnifying glass icon. Okay, so let's run it. We'll run test.js. And here goes Appium again. All right, here's our app launching. And there we go. We clicked on the correct element. Double check that our test passed. And it did. Great. So that's the basic idea. There's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of useful cases the machine learning model doesn't yet handle. For example, icons that are mixed with text. And of course, a lot of room for performance improvement. But I'm super excited to be working with Jason to get some of this next generation technology into Appium and into all of your hands. So don't forget to take the time to thank Jason and Test AI for opening up their machine learning model and giving us the ability to build this Appium integration. And now I'll stop taking up time in his presentation. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you. Actually, that wasn't Lips. We used some of that new AI stuff that can... Don't tell him you saw this. Bear with me. I love coming to conferences because it's the only place in the world you can go and like people clap because you clicked a button. All right, so this is like a half hour of all your lives times how many lives are in here. It's a lot of people hours. To basically summarize it with this, there's a new API for Appium, and it's called driver element by custom, and you do AI, and you just pass a colon, and then you pass the thing you want to click. So it could be one of, right now it's like, how many there's like 60 or 100 different things or something. And I think soon maybe 200 or 300 or something. That's it. No, I'm kidding, it's not it. You may want to know, how does this magic work? So a quick thing, I talked to, of course, I love how Lips qualified that this is all, it's experimental and new. He's always apologetic, but I think it's because he's been running Appium for like 5-6 years. It's still new and experimental. But in terms of speed, so you saw that working in real time. Lips cares about every 100 milliseconds. Right now, how long does it take? Yeah, it's like 0.8 seconds, 800 milliseconds to do that classification. But we also have stuff that we're going to be releasing. We're going to continue to release and improve these classifiers. The stuff in our lab now can handle, I think, up to 1,000 elements in about 0.2 seconds or something, right, in a batch form. So the stuff's going to get massively faster, too, very soon. The key thing about speed here, too, is to think about is that it was actually a lot faster for Lips to write that than it was to find the ID, do the CSS, the XPath kind of crap. So really the key advantage here is actually developer productivity, frankly. And then secondly, you saw that same code again, like Appium's promises is to work cross-platform. The cool thing is that it also works cross-app design generally. So if your developers come up with a new shopping cart icon tomorrow, right? It's, as long as it still looks like a shopping cart icon, your code will still run, right? No matter if they changed it from an image to a button to whatever the hell, like a div with a background image with an on-click handler, as long as the user can still see that's a shopping cart, it will still find it and click it. So it's just fewer broken tests. Here's a quick insight into how it works. These are all shopping carts. So this is what I'm spending all of Google's money on. We collect a lot of shopping carts, and then Chris will talk about it later. He just sits in front of a machine and goes, yep. But if you think about it, he gets paid a lot for doing that. So we basically do, it's not a machine learning course today, it's a lot to take in. But basically, we teach the machine with a lot of examples of shopping carts, and then we have a lot of other things here, like the save button, rewind, reply, mute, notification, all sorts of these other elements. We do the same stupid trick, right? It's kind of easy. We just give it a bunch of images, the neural networks like figure it out with a lot of compute, and then they can recognize these different parts of the applications. And that it just extends the vocabulary of what we can use the AI kind of selector for. So a couple quick notes, because so we open sourced it. So Test AI we did, the engineering team was a little bit nervous because they spent like, I'm a manager, so I kept saying, what you're doing is very important, and it's very valuable. And then as soon as we got it running, I said, we're going to open source this stuff. So they were a little anxious. They're like, oh, well, I thought that was our IP, right? And then I told our investors, that is our IP. So they went along with it for some reason. But the idea is that we open sourced all this stuff. We open sourced the data and the actual models. So if you don't want to do the training, you can actually just use the models off the shelf. Really, it's just an NPM or something install with a new Appium, and then you have access to making AI selector calls. Another cool thing that kind of iterated on with Lips is, I was also very careful. I wanted to make sure that this wasn't looked like a proprietary thing or a one-off. So what we did was, Lips did it, but basically he designed it, or architect, I hate that word, architect. So there's now in Appium a way to have arbitrary sets of multiple classifiers. So if you build your own classifier, you have your own search methodology, right, to find elements in an application, you can add those as well. So now the community can kind of parameterize and more programmatically modify Appium's behavior within ourselves and share it without having to modify Appium code itself. And it's just a simple little API call. And then lastly, you go like, oh, well, I've got some weird, funny little images in my app, right, that you don't recognize. Like you have a refund button or something like that you want to click. All you need to do is get a picture of a bunch of pictures of your refund button, stretch them a little bit, maybe add some noise to them, or get a bunch of other refund buttons from the internet, right? I don't know how many it takes, depends on, it's a whole machine learning problem. You get a bunch of pictures of refund apps, refund buttons, stick them in the folder called refund, and then you retrain it, and now the AI can recognize refund buttons in your app. So it's extensible to do your own custom stuff, which is basically being a machine learning engineer. It's kind of cool. Like I've written some blog posts recently. I think what's going to happen, people go like, is AI going to take my job? But I say kinda, but the real thing is you're going to turn into a machine learning engineer, right? You're going to think about data, think about how to train the machine to do your work for you at scale, and then end up with far more robust automation. So we don't have to deal with flaky tests. Like every class or session's on flaky tests, or it's hard to write the tests or whatever. I think AI is just going to make that simpler, so we can catch up. Like Angie was saying this morning. See if she's paying attention. She's not. But the goal is what, 85% coverage, and you never get there. Maybe there's a little of a chance that we can get there because we'll have more time to actually engineer and design test cases instead of maintaining and fixing the crap. This is all open source. Here's the Lips pull request. It is live. It's on the internet. There's no, it's JLips 2 account for some reason, but no, I'm kidding. It's JLips. And then here's our repo. The URLs are in there, and I think we'll share the slides after this, just up on GitHub, so you can pull in the Appium classifier that we released. So, quick summary of that is just, there's a new API, super simple to use. Everybody I asked who's used AI in their testing. Nobody raised their hand, right, except Angie. I didn't even raise my hand. I should have. I lied. But the cool thing is, by the end of this week, if you really wanted to, you can go back and say, yo, yeah, I used AI in our Selenium scripts, in Appium scripts. Like literally, you can use AI in your testing today, even if it's clicking one cart button. Right? But that's like a 0 to 1 moment, right? We're actually using and leveraging AI. Everybody talks about, if you go to the talks and the panels, it's like, I get a little frustrated. Sorry? What?
I said, what a line in the resume.
No, exactly. Like, what a line in the resume, right? And Chris has got a little slide on that too. Like welcome. Like this is probably worth the price of admission, right? You're the new avant-garde of. How much did you pay, Angie? She's like, not enough. I don't know. This doesn't cover it. But basically, everyone in here, my hope and my little dream, and it's a little step forward, but we're basically turning all these Selenium and Appium engineers into engineers that leverage AI in their systems. And by the way, and again, back to the resume, you talk to your boss, right? Like, hey, I'm an AI and machine learning engineer now. They pay him $300 to $500K at Netflix. All right, so I'm going to introduce Chris. So Chris does all the work that I take credit for, and he works at Test AI, kind of. Actually, he's usually streaming Dota. I think you have 2 dedicated monitors for Dota and 1 for code. So his past, interestingly, was very similar. That's why the romance just blossoms, is that we were both working at Microsoft, which we got out of prison after a little while. And then went to Google, got frustrated there. He went to Dropbox, which I don't understand how you make $1 billion company out of copy-pasting files everywhere. And I asked him, what the hell does he do, right? And then he went back to Google, and he was testing and doing test automation for the Google Play Store apps. So really automating, kind of very meta, automating the mobile apps, Google that distribute mobile apps. And they came to work with us. I don't know why. It was the high salary, I guess. All right. But here's Chris to give you some quick background and even open up to some Q&A on the technical insides of how this stuff works under the cover.
Thank you, Jason, or as we call him, Dear Leader. Oh, Leroy, sorry. So under the hood, we're using a TensorFlow model. So have any of you worked with TensorFlow or know about it? Okay, a few hands. So what is TensorFlow? So it is Google's open source machine learning framework. And what this does is allows you to easily and quickly create neural network architecture and models. And so that was one of the main drivers that we used it. It's also fully supported on Google Cloud, and it's also available in an offline mode. So the key thing about TensorFlow is, and any neural network for that matter, you need a lot of data. We're talking millions of images, and what this does is it helps the network understand, the curvature and how to get, edge detection, understanding what objects are in the screen, and pulling out that really rich data that all of us can inherently do because we've just seen so much in our lifetimes. These machines, sort of pop up, and they're, brand new to the world, and you have to really teach them. And to teach them, you have to use just a lot of data. So what we've done and what we highly recommend if you end up building your own models is use a pre-trained network. So Google provides a bunch of these that are in TensorFlow, another reason we like it. And so if you start with that, you kind of start not with a brand new, totally blank slate type of thing, but you get a network that already understands a lot of these complex tasks and complex complex understandings around the image. So specifically, we're using MobileNet. Again, this is built by Google. It was trained on 1.3 million images, and it's actually optimized for mobile. So the reason we chose this was mostly due to the speed. So as Jason mentioned earlier, we can classify an image in 0.8 seconds. If you use other models, though, they can take around 1 to 3 seconds, depending on how large they are, and how verbose and how many things that they've been trained on and know. So the cool thing about TensorFlow, which is just the awesomest part, is you can either do it in the cloud or you can do it locally. So when I was flying out here, I was actually on the plane and I was just training nets. So I got about 5-6 training runs in from my flight from San Francisco. And by the end of it, I actually had improved our model quality by about 5%, which is huge. But I was able to do that all without any Wi-Fi, without any supercomputer, just a MacBook, and that is awesome. So you could do it, if you're on the beach or what have you. Yeah. I don't know why you do it. So this is actually just, I'll kind of skip over it. We did a lot of math, is basically the point of this slide, sort of showing where is the optimal threshold. So when the machine learning model comes back and says, I think it's a cart, what is sort of that threshold of where you should trust it? And so this is just kind of showing, as you look at the different models, there's certain things that we're able to detect better than others. So things like that are common, fingerprints, the Google logo, the Facebook logo, those things don't change across apps much. So we're able to classify and detect those at a much higher frequency. Things, however, like arrows, those are incredibly hard. Is an arrow a share button or is it a reply button? Is it a right arrow or a left arrow? Things like that even humans have a hard time sometimes distinguishing. So I want to just show a quick video. So this is kind of the power of using this. Oh, that's the happy one. Yeah, so why this is kind of really powerful, and Jason alluded to it earlier, and it was in the video from Jay Lips as well, is what you can do is when you have this deep, rich understanding, it doesn't matter what happens when you change the app. So here we see the Chewy app, and this is an older version that they had. But you can see we kind of break out the elements, we classify them, St. Bernese dog, a dog, we think it's a button. These are all sort of the different labels that the machine learning model is able to detect. And so now you see this was the redesign of their app, and we're still able to find the same things: search boxes, search bar inputs, a cat, an Egyptian Persian cat to be specific. Even the cart. If you notice the difference between the cart of being, sometimes those are changes under the hood that using selectors is a little hard to detect. So as Jason mentioned a little earlier, we do have about, I think, 68 labels as of right now that are supported. We have some additional ones coming out. This is really, again, early days, and we have more. We just want to make sure that the data we do put out there is highly curated. And so, kind of in conclusion, for my part anyways, as you can tell, things on this, which is the Walmart webpage, look very, very similar to the Walmart app that Jay Lips demoed. So it's not a far stretch for us to now, take this same technology and, work with web pages, because shopping cart icons, search icons, they look the same across mobile and web. In fact, a lot of apps are, more hybrid apps these days anyways, so they're the same exact apps, same exact icons and web packs. Again, quick note, you can easily get this into, if you're using Appium right now, with a brew install link, an npm install, and you can get this running today. Cool. And then kind of the last part, as Jason was hinting at, as he was hinting at, as this shift happens now, you can start putting in to your LinkedIn, to your resume, that you're an artificial intelligence engineer, a machine learning engineer, because you are now going to be using machine learning. Maybe the first one on your team, actually, before the devs, before the PMs even, on your product, which is awesome. So there's a few caveats. Okay. Yeah, now I'm associated with caveats. So this is early days. We're working through the hello world for all of the apps. We have not tested this on Windows or Linux, just Mac as of right now. Because of JS and the limits of TensorFlow JS, the classifier is a little bit slower performance on that versus Python, Java. It's also statistical. So there's no guarantee as of right now, that it will find your cart. But what you can do is, because we've open sourced the data and we're posting articles on how to train it, you can actually go ahead and add in your own images, and that sort of teaches this machine learning model, here's what a cart, and it's your app's cart button or your web page's cart button. And so that will greatly help the model understand your app.
Cool. Or go back to I'm on. All right. Yeah, so the caveats, like literally, we finished this part of the project, the Hello World, with Lips, I was like 36 hours ago. And so why haven't we tested on Windows and Linux? We don't care. It's that's what this machine is. So we'll be doing some testing of that. I actually hope the community does it, right? If you want to contribute to this, it's the whole idea of open source, right? If you want to literally be like even a full-blown data machine learning engineer, start working on the data, curate the data, add more labels, like try to get the, use the trainer. We have instructions on how to do the training. It's just a couple command lines, right? But make the system better. You can get involved. Don't leave the burden on just me and Jay Lips, or Chris and Jay Lips. And again, this is the weird thing. So the thing I'll make you uncomfortable with this is that that's the part of the new world of this new AI kind of machine learning world is that it's the last bullet around statistical not guaranteed is that it is like we measure on those graphs. We can measure with like say 98.9% accuracy. If there's a shopping cart, we'll find it. But guess what testers do? They focus on that last little fraction of a percent. And they go like, what if it doesn't find it? The good news is that a neural net is going to be consistent, though. So if it finds your shopping cart, it'll find it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. If you retrain, it's 99.8% sure to find it again. So you probably won't feel really comfortable about that. But guess what? It's 99.8% sure it's going to find that damn shopping cart. And I know your CSS selectors like ID Magic and XPaths are not as good. You don't even quantified how shitty they are, right? Oh, I did it. All right, I did it. Sorry. So anyway, but that's a new world kind of here too. Is that we're bringing more math and statistical analysis into testing and making. But that means it's also more probabilistic, right? So we have this trade-off, but it's a very good trade-off in terms of precision versus recall and consistency and maintainability and speed of development. But literally, so you can literally go home. It's all open sourced and go play with this and be a machine learning tester tonight. Maybe that's a good thing for the hackathon. I don't know. Maybe for the hackathon, somebody could test it on Windows. A cool thing, by the way, training is supposed to be crazy faster on Windows because it can leverage the GPU and it can't on Mac. So there's actually some advantages to running on Windows. Again, so I don't know. So if you're AI curious, there's two things to do. One is we ordered a bunch of shirts and they sent me too many because I said, can somebody send me shirts? And 3 people sent shirts. So there's 3 boxes of these shirts that are awesome that I'm modeling today. Results may vary, but it looks damn nice on me. I'll have a box of them up in the, I cheated. I didn't pay to get a logo up here. I actually just didn't think about it and forgot. But I'll be up in the vendor area at a secret table in the corner that no one was abandoned, and there'll be some boxes if you want to grab a free t-shirt. And then secondly, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on, Tariq and I co-founded this, Tariq King and I co-founded this AItesting.org. People think it's this actual like organization, and maybe there's a building somewhere. It's called a Squarespace page and a mailing list. But we do our best to disseminate all the kind of latest, most interesting works and papers and academic work, particularly academic and technical work related to AI. It's not like the AI bots are coming and there's like a message or something. It's more like here's a paper and here's some, a peer-reviewed paper on an algorithm to generate test cases. That was the last one that went out. But so you can connect up there and be one of the cool kids. And lastly, are there any Selenium engineers in here? I told you. This stuff is very easy it's already been built, right? And there's a model of how to add it to Appium. So I'd highly encourage someone, actually, if you see Simon in the hallways, like go, what's up? Like, what's up? Like Appium's now kicking Selenium's butt, right? Appium was the baby and now it's the man and taking over the family. So, but you can add this stuff. You can also add the same stuff. It's an API call. It's an API call to Espresso, Robotium, any other kind of mobile, or if you're experimental, web test frameworks. So that's pretty fun. And you might ask, some people are asking, like, well, why the heck are you open sourcing this stuff and whatever? The real goal at our company at Test.ai is to test the world's apps. And guess what? I can't test them all myself, right? You guys are testing them. So ultimately, the best way to impact the planet and make apps a little bit better and help testers a little bit here and there is just to share this stuff and make everybody smarter and everybody better on the planet. So I'm not going to cry. So if you want to get in touch, I always say this, I'm like a lonely person, so I actually respond to most LinkedIn and emails if you want to geek out. Well, Chris and I will also be walking around the conference. And one quick scheduling note, Lips wasn't here, not because he was lazy, it was his son's first birthday. So, I know, exactly. So he's not a jerk and just didn't stand us up. I think you're supposed to smash the cake in the kid's face, right? That's what my wife always made us do. But thanks for being here, and I guess we can go enjoy lunch, right? Or Q&A, or go get lunch.